Adequate notice of this meeting of the Mayor and Council was sent to the Co-Star and the Asbury Park Press, our official newspapers, and posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building. Take roll call. Councilwoman Donovan?
Here.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Here.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Here.
Councilman Romanero?
Here.
Councilman Levis?
Here. Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our troops, their families, and our first responders. Thank you. Before we start the workshop, I'd like to read a statement that pertains to the incident that occurred on August 20th, 2024, and let the audience know that I will not be commenting or answering any questions on this incident during the public session. Okay. Under the New Jersey state statutes, the borough was granted control of the beach and bathing areas. The state Supreme Court has required that under the public trust doctrine, the borough must grant access to all on equal terms and without preference. The statute prohibits charging people under 12 years of age and provides for certain exceptions for specific groups such as seniors. The borough's fee schedule meets these requirements. The statute was amended in 2019, at which time changes to the listed exceptions could have been made to allow additional classes of people free or reduced fee access during operational hours. The legislature did not do so. I am advised that there is no case law that allows a municipality to deviate from providing access to all on equal terms during operational hours. I understand that there are varying interpretations of the law on this matter. However, I am advised that the Borough of Belmar is operating in compliance with both the state statute and the court's direction. Our system of government provides for differing opinions. These differences should be worked out in the appropriate forums. I'm confident that the borough will comply with any future changes in the law if and when that occurs. All right, let's move on to workshop. I have one matter on long-term street parking.
Right, I had requested that we talk about long-term street parking, because I know a lot of residents have been coming to all of us, they've been coming to the meetings, specifically in this instance to complain about really non-functioning vehicles being left on the street for way too long in some of our houses. There's already low levels of parking available, and obviously that will continue as more buildings are built. And I think one resident emailed in and I thought had a really tidy proposal, which was, let's do a 30-day cutoff. And I don't know how you guys feel about it. We've not had a chance to talk about it, but I think that makes sense.
I'd be in favor of that. We have a lot of residents who are, very frustrated because they never get a chance to have that parking spot that's blocked for sometimes months, sometimes years.
Yeah, I would also be in favor of that because it happens all over town a lot, and sometimes they're, commercial-looking vehicles aren't actually, commercial vehicles. So definitely, I think there should be a cutoff.
Yeah, so our current ordinance restricts commercial vehicle overnight parking on the street, correct, Chief?
Yes.
Okay, so I agree. I've seen some weird situations. I had a neighbor who parked like a hearse on the street and just left it there. I've seen vehicles for sale listed as non-functioning, not an engine, but I see it parked on the street, and that's a big problem. We really need to avoid that. Is 30 days enough time to give, a reasonable? I mean, how do we really enforce that? That's the biggest question I'd like to ask the chief is, Are we gonna have to put chalk, or are we gonna have to let residents sort of call first and to understand it?
So the way that the state ordinance now, it's, you know, a vehicle can only be parked for 48 hours, and if it's registered, and it's supposed to move every 48 hours. We do, it's kind of a case by case. You know, we'll get a complaint that a car's been parked there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The officer will go down there, they'll run the plate, they'll find out who the owner is, if it's registered, if it's legally parked, if there's any signs of abandonment of the vehicle. Most of the times, 7 out of 10 times, it's a neighbor or somebody on another block that parked their car there, because that's where they found a parking spot. And the car is legally parked and the registration is valid. We'll put a warning on it because we got the complaint, and then usually if we can't make contact with the owner of the vehicle, say it's, you know, the car comes back to Hoboken, you know, we'll call Hoboken to try to make contact with the owner. You know, your car's been reported that's been parked here for several weeks, you know, what's the deal with it? Sometimes it ends up being that the person's on vacation, they have a rental house here, so it doesn't, obviously their address is not the same as their license, and, you know, we're not gonna tow the vehicle, especially if they're on vacation for 2 weeks, you know, and, you know, in some cases, people don't have driveways. So it's really a case by case, but if there is signs of abandonment, a flat tire, broken window, no plates or something like that, we'll put a warning on it, and then within 48 hours, if it's still there, we'll take it and tow it at that point, if we can't make contact with the owners.
So you're saying the state law right now is it can't be parked there for more than 48 hours?
Yeah, state law, that's what it, yeah, but it's, I mean, it really comes down to just common sense, and, you know, trying to figure out whose car it is and stuff like that, so.
When you say 48 hours, is that any car? Does it have to be, if it's fully registered and legal?
It just says vehicle, well, registered or if it doesn't have a registration. So, any car, any vehicle.
I'm just looking for what the disconnect is in between what residents are reporting, and we were talking about 30 days here, but apparently there's a 48-hour thing. Have you been getting similar complaints, or is this kind of an anomaly?
We get them all the time.
Okay.
We get them all the time, and like I said, if it's a valid registration and the car's legally parked and it does not show any signs of abandonment, we usually, you know, we'll put a warning on it, let the owner know that we got this complaint, you know, ask them if they could, you know, move their car every 48 hours. Sometimes they do get summonses. It's at the discretion of the officer, how they handle it.
So what we're talking about here would be imposing a sort of a hard stop 30-day limit where we're looking at the police are gonna actually tow the vehicle. Is that what we're thinking, Councilwoman?
I proposed this as a discussion, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to think, you know, what's the solution if a vehicle has been there longer than 30 days and, you know, like Chief Scott said, if it's registered, if it's technically it's legally parked there, what's the next step?
I mean, we do have residents that are here during the summer and gone for the winter that don't have driveways, and, you know, what's to say that they park their vehicle on the street while they're in Florida for a month? So, I mean, you gotta look at it that way as well. I mean,
I have a question for the council. Councilor, if the state statute says 48 hours, is the municipality able to extend that to 30 days? Is there?
You wouldn't be extending it, it would be in addition to, and if they're substantially similar, the ticket should be written under the state statute, not the borough.
It seems
We can't extend the time. We can't eliminate or change what a statute says.
I would hope at 30 days we could tow it if it's left abandoned. I really think that that's the frustration that we're hearing from the residents, is not about the residents who live there and who just need to find parking in the evening. It's the residents who live there can't find parking after their work hours because that same vehicle has been there for 2 months in front of their home.
I tend to agree. I think 30 days they should be towed. And if, you know, there are residents that leave for the winter, it should be made noted to them somehow that this is the new rule and that they can't leave their cars abandoned and parked for 6 months or 4 months or however long they go away. That's not fair to the residents that live there all year.
Yeah, and in the wintertime too, they're required to move their car from the street if there's a snowstorm.
Plowing,
right?
exactly.
So that's a point too. What I don't wanna do is be towing or ticketing, actual residents who maybe are on a business trip for a month or something like that. Because I know those situations will arise.
What about some type of registration or call-in program?
Call-in program, yeah.
I think one of the other things we need to look at is whether or not we have a definition of an abandoned vehicle in our code. I don't know that we do. And that would be really the first step as to determine what's abandoned. And then we come up with an enforcement issue as to how do we know, when something's abandoned, do we have to give notice ahead of time? I think it's good to say we're going to do a 30-day, thing, but we need to then have a practical way of enforcing it so that it's clear that, this vehicle has been there for 30 days. In conjunction with that, I thought a lot of the questions also had to do with commercial vehicles. And you said that we do have an ordinance that prohibits commercial vehicles from overnight parking? Okay, I didn't find that, but we can, because I see many commercial vehicles parked in residential areas overnight. And I think that was one of the complaints, people are building homes, and the contractor comes with, 3 vans, and they leave 2 vans there, and everybody goes, the next day, so it's constant, commercial vehicles being parked overnight in some instances. And I think that would be another thing to look at enforcing.
Mayor, we can't just use the term commercial vehicles because there are a lot of commercial vehicles. You mentioned vans, there's also pickup trucks. Our ordinance actually describes types of vehicles, vehicles with 6 or more tires. Also describes the vehicles by tonnage and use as well. But there's a lot of commercial vans, pickup trucks, vans, cars even are commercial vehicles. They're not barred.
Okay, but what about the ones that have commercial registrations? Usually the plates begin with X. Right?
No, they're okay under our present ordinance as long as they're a pickup truck or a van. Once they start meeting the description of the vehicles that are banned by either weight or type, and we talk about tires. So it seems to me if you have a commercial vehicle and you have 4 tires, you're good. You don't have to worry about it. You can park.
Correct.
That might be something we would want to look at, though.
No, I
don't know.
I think that's okay. If you have a person who works, for a living, maybe they have a commercial truck that they, need to get back to from work. They're not.
What if they park in front of your house?
That's fine.
Okay.
But that would be that person's car, right? That's not necessarily just their work car. That might be their only vehicle.
Well, now you're going into the intent of the use. You have to be able to determine whether it's commercial or not by just looking at it. If it has an X, it has a commercial registration, is that enough to say it's a commercial vehicle? If it has a sign on the side of it that says, Joe's Painting, is that a commercial vehicle or is that a personal vehicle? Those are things I think we need to define clearly.
Sure, and the answer to that is it's a commercial vehicle and one that's not prohibited from parking in the town.
But we could change that if we wanted to.
You can do anything you want.
No, I just throw that out to the council if that's something you feel that you want to address while we're addressing.
I just think some commercial vehicles, like you mentioned, are also used for personal use. Like my husband is a painter and he uses it for personal use, so, that's kind of like the size and the number of tires. As, you can't have a tractor trailer parked in front of your house, or a plow.
Right, because the issue is less about the vehicle itself, but the issue is less about the vehicle itself and more about the space it's taking up. If we're talking about a vehicle that's taking up one individual spot, it matters little to me. But if we're talking about a house across the street that's been in construction for 3 years and they keep parking their enormous trucks and taking up 2 spots at a time for 2 weeks, then it's a different issue, right? It's addressing the problem, not the actual truck.
I think any enormous truck would be prevented or prohibited under our ordinance from parking overnight.
I just wanted to bring up,
And again, I think it comes back to the time, like really by 30 days, like we need to make a move on this, especially if people are complaining about it and asking the police to check it out and asking for registration and what's going on. By 30 days, they should have been notified and or we should just tow.
I'll take a look at it, but I think that under the present statute, we can tow them. Now, I think the issue is the police do it on a case-by-case basis, so as not to, tow a resident's car. And we talk about abandon, and it's a good idea to put a definition of abandon in if we're gonna do a 30-day type thing. If the 30-day ordinance, the goal of that ordinance is to tow, which is an option, I believe, already, but, yeah, we put that definition in, so, Mark said hard stop, if that's what we're looking at, I could do something like that, but again, you're gonna deal with it on a case-by-case basis, because, a resident in Florida, do we tow them? Maybe we do, but these are the decisions we'll have to make.
There, excuse me, the ordinance is 19-16, it's parking of certain trucks, vehicles, and trailers prohibited. So it doesn't actually say commercial, but it talks about 6 or more wheels, dump trucks, box trucks, with a separate cab and box type structure, so if you wanna take a look at that.
Okay, yeah, I kind of remember not seeing anything that said commercial, but, I'd be curious to see what the public thinks. I would go for the commercial being broader in terms of, if you're registered as a commercial or if you have any kind of commercial advertising. I wouldn't object to saying that those vehicles cannot park on the street overnight, but that's my opinion.
I think the biggest issue we want to tackle is the abandoned vehicles, right? And that's something that really warrants further definition, right? If it's got flat tires, if the inspection's been expired for over a year, are we then going to consider it abandoned? I think it's important that we sort of define what those standards and criteria are for understanding whether the vehicle's abandoned or not. Because to the chief's point, we don't want to be towing just regular residents, right? But if it's really a nuisance vehicle, an abandoned vehicle that's just sort of sitting there rotting away, that's when we're getting notified. Those are the ones I think that, these people are writing letters about. It's really those cases.
Yeah, but if you have a rule and you say 30 days, it has to be 30 days for everyone. You can't have a rule that says, well, there'll be 30 days for residents, not for residents, 30 days for
I'm
everyone
talking
else.
strictly, Mayor, about abandoned vehicles, right? So even if you're a resident, you're sitting there, and your car's sitting there with flat tires and inspection that expired 2 years ago, to me,
No, I
it's an
agree with you on
abandoned
that.
vehicle. Yeah, that's really the problem we're trying to solve here.
But you want to make it clear so that when the law is being enforced, there's no ambiguity as to whether or not this vehicle has been abandoned or not abandoned. That's all I'm saying, because it needs to be defined in such a way
And I
that
think
it's not ambiguous.
we're agreeing with that.
Well, the thing is, the abandoned vehicle that you're talking about, Councilman, the definition of that vehicle would not actually fit the situation that actually generated this discussion. The vehicle that generated this discussion is commercial type vehicle, registered, owned. So it's in no way would be like the flat tire, broken window, kind of sitting there, kind of vehicle, So that's what we'll have to look at too, figure it out that way.
We're having a further discussion on this at some point, which is good.
I'm still down to the time, like I feel like it should be, it doesn't matter. I feel like if it's 30 days, if the resident complains and we, ticket it, nobody comes, there's still just, it should be, at some point, it should just be removed.
I guess, how do we enforce that, Chief? I mean, when does the clock start? Like, if somebody's there for 29 days, they move it for a day, and then they come back?
It would have to be based on a complaint that we receive, so,
Yeah.
we can, we drive around all day, but, you may think it's abandoned and we don't. So it would have to be based off a complaint made to the police department, and then we could go from that date, 30 days or whatever you decide from there.
You also have kids that go to college and they leave the car, nobody drives it. I had that situation. Throw that in.
The other thing I thought we should address, there was that letter in the CoStar that was addressed to us, so I wanted us to reply, which was the suggestion that we change the parking, the paid parking down on Ocean Avenue, which I thought was intriguing until we had that conversation about how much money the borough takes in. You know, and as we know, we have a lot of streets that need repaving and all that work going. How much did you say it was roughly in the
I
off-season?
thought it was between $100,000 and $200,000.
It's a lot of
Roughly,
money to give up.
last time I looked at it.
And we have these projects.
This was referencing the timing of the.
Yeah, so it was just Memorial to Labor Day.
I believe a lot of that was done, correct me if I'm not wrong, to deter some of the car rallies.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I just wanted to reply to the person who wrote the letter that it was a good idea in theory, but the reality is that there are several factors that I think would be unwise, personally, to change that particular rule right now.
Move on to further discussion. Anything else for the workshop?
I think I drafted a letter, so I want to thank the mayor and council. I drafted a letter on behalf of us to NJDOT to request moving up the estimated construction time date for the crosswalk by 8th near Main, so that we have a safe place for our Belmar Housing Authority residents to cross. Currently, the construction estimate date is 2027, and so we are requesting that be moved up as soon as possible, as we believe it's an urgent safety issue, and we don't want to see any other serious pedestrian accidents in this busy corridor. So we've all signed the letter, it will be sent out, and we've also copied it to our district representatives.
The other thing I would add to that, in conjunction with that, is I believe we will also be asking for them to fix the intersection at 8th and Main so that people know when they're approaching it, whether they stay to the left to make a left, or go straight, or stay to the right to make a right. There's no signage, there's no direction. Everybody goes whichever way they think they're gonna go. And I mean, that's one of the issues that we'll definitely bring up should we get a response from them. But that needs to be done in conjunction with what they're doing.
Just wanted to say that it is my opinion, very strong opinion, that it should be left to go left, right to go right, or straight. Because otherwise it takes way too long with all the people turning left to go straight.
I'm sure they have some like traffic engineer with a PhD who will figure out what the way to do it is, but that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, let's move on to petitions. April?
Don't have a chance to talk about
Nope.
for further discussion.
No questions at this
Discussion in
point.
workshop.
No questions or comments about the workshop. The workshop is really our meeting to discuss what things we want to discuss. And obviously, according to the, doing things out in the public, that's why we don't have private meetings. This is why we have this, Open Public Meetings Act. So it's just a part of the agenda that we discuss things that need to be discussed. You can certainly make comments at in the public session at the end. Petitions?
I did not receive any petitions. Approval of minutes, can I have a motion to approve the August 13th minutes?
Motion?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckafusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondenaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Abstain.
Next is reports of council.
We had an incredible Centennial Festival. I hope you all went this past weekend. I'd like to congratulate our honorees, Robin Fiona from Robin Smith, and Spagnola from Ovitos, David Capoli, and our dear friend, Councilwoman Maria Rondenaro. And also congratulations to John Walsh, who did a great job with all of the logistics. People were coming to me raving the entire time. I have to say, one of the things I loved the most was seeing all the people who were not only going to all the booths, but going to all of our Main Street and Plaza businesses. My mom was there, she has 1 million business cards, she's very happy. And I hope you all enjoyed it as well. There is no environmental commission meeting this September, but we're getting great feedback about how the lake looks. Thank you to everyone who has written in. I am very thrilled no longer to be getting pictures of goose poop. I want to say congratulations to Taylor Hardware on celebrating 130 years. They are a fixture for Belmar on Main Street, and I was in there today. That staff is incredible and knowledgeable and helpful, and congratulations. I hope they're here for another 130 years. The Belmar Women's Club and the PTO are selling mums for the fall. Deadline to order is this Friday. You can go to bit.ly/mums order form. The Belmar Women's Club has also added a monthly evening meeting for members, current or new, who cannot make the afternoon meetings. These are both the first Wednesday of the month. I encourage you to come by. The Women's Club is rapidly expanding, and they do incredible work within the community and beyond. We have the town garage sale coming up on September 28th, so don't forget to sign up for that. And remember to clear out your beach walkers by September 15th. And finally, I want to congratulate our beach staff, our lifeguards, our water safety team, our gate attendants, our office staff, and DPW on a wonderful beach season. Councilman Levis and I had the honor of walking around and speaking to so many of you on Labor Day weekend, and there were a lot of new staff, and they were just going on and on how great a summer they had, how lovely the people of Belmar were, and they are a credit to us. You are a credit to us. Thank you all. I hope you all had a wonderful summer.
Okay, I also wanted to say thank you so much for everybody who made this summer so awesome. We had from the lifeguards to water rescue, our police department, the DPW kept our beaches clean, and beach staff, everyone who made this summer such a great success, so thank you so much. San Gennaro was amazing. I want to thank everyone who helped with that. Also, DPW, the police department, John Walsh did a great job, from everybody who set up to broke down. I think everybody just was a great event, very well attended. I was kind of questionable about the weather moving it to Sunday, but I think it was a good decision because in the end it was like a stellar day. So it really made a really good event for us. I was up at the Belmar Pro almost the whole weekend, amazing surf contest. The waves were amazing. I think everybody did a really good job setting up and breaking that down. Our skate park committee was up there, also at the San Gennaro Festival. The skate park committee this weekend took in almost $5,000 in donations, which was awesome. So a lot of support coming out from the skate park. Saturday morning was also Meters for Mike, which is an event it's a group that raises money and awareness for traumatic brain injuries. The lifeguards helped set that up. It's a mile swim. That was also very well attended. It was a chilly morning, but it was very well attended also. So thanks to the lifeguards for helping out with that. And I was also up at the Autism Beach Bash, which was also very well attended. A great Sunday afternoon. Lots of people up there, lots of services, lots of individuals. Surfers Healing were up helping the kids surf. That was a really amazing, awesome event also. So thank you to everybody who made all these great things happen over the course of one weekend. Okay, so on to my report. Registration for winter basketball grades 2nd through 8th is happening now. Registration for K through 1st basketball clinics are happening now. Belmar Youth Club registration is open. Youth Club starts November 16th. That's from grades, I think, 3 to 8. All exercise programs now are going to be moved back to Taylor Pavilion, just in case you were doing anything back at the gym. It's all moved back to Taylor Pavilion now. Shade Tree Commission, the next meeting is this Thursday, 6:30. ADA next meeting is October 3rd, Thursday, October 3rd. And then a couple things around the schools. Everybody's back to school, right? So Belmar Elementary, their roof is finished and looking great. School started September 9th. There is a new cell phone policy for parents, so make sure your kids know the cell phone policy at Belmar Elementary. They also have a new awesome initiative happening at Belmar Elementary School called Conversation, which overall kind of helps with kids scrolling less, spending more time interacting with people, and overall helping kids make better choices. So I think that's a great initiative that's happening in Belmar Elementary too. St. Rose Grammar School and the high school both started back September 5th. St. Rose Grammar School back to school night is September 11th and 12th, tomorrow and Thursday. Back to school night for the high school is September 19th. There's a fall open house for the high school, if anybody's interested in checking out St. Rose High School, Wednesday, October 2nd. And the annual walkathon for St. Rose High School is October 4th at 9 in the morning. You can find more information out on how to donate to that on their website. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo all of the sentiments and congratulations and thank yous to everyone who's made this summer successful and everyone who's made so many of these events that we've had so meaningful and special. The Belmar Housing Authority met last Tuesday, since Monday was a holiday. We will have a 9/11 memorial ceremony tomorrow at 9 a.m. in front of the Belmar Housing Authority. That's at 710 East Ave. All are welcome to attend. Our special speaker will be Chip Katanoff of our fire administrator and Belmar Goodwill and Fire House. And we'll also have a releasing of the doves. The mayor will speak. This memorial event was originally organized by the late Gene Murray. He was a resident of the Belmar Housing Authority and someone who was really active in the Belmar community. Since he's passed, we've wanted to continue his tradition and making sure the mayor and the borough are happy to continue supporting the ceremony. Also, the Jersey Shore Running Club tomorrow will have its annual 9/11 Memorial Run starting at 6 p.m., starting at 16th Avenue Boardwalk. They also have a ceremony afterwards. If you don't run, I don't run, you can walk it. That's nice too. At 8:30, there's also Raising for Tribute in Life, which is at the Howard Rowland Public Safety Pavilion, featuring the symbolic beams of light in honor of the lives lost on 9/11. Yesterday, we had the library board meeting, and the Strategic Plan Committee, which I'm a part of, discussed their plan, which includes capital improvements, improvement in technology, increased outreach, and expanding our library collection. So the strategic plan will be further discussed at next month's meeting and voted on in November for their meeting. So all are welcome to join these meetings, they're public. Next one is October 21st, and then November 11th at 6 p.m. in the downstairs library area. The library is also celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with 3 major events in the library. The first one is the Hispanic Latin American Dance Party. This is a new thing for the library, which features the Rafa Boys for music. It will be wonderful time for dancing. Our cuisine will be from Santo Ceviche in Belmar. If you haven't gone there, it's so good. So please come early and get ready to party. We also have a Hispanic Heritage Field Day at the library, and that will be October 5th. And then we have a Belmar-born off-Broadway musical about an immigrant's journey to America, written and composed by Belmar native Tim McCory. So that is coming up towards the end of, I think, October 17th is when that's happening. And then the end of summer concert featuring the Pat Roddy Band will be Thursday, September 19th at 5 p.m. Live on the library lawn. I heard there's free pizza and water while supplies last. So join us as we close out the summer at the library. Lastly, I had a good amount of people ask me, and it's continued interest in our Veteran Banner Program to celebrate and honor our hometown heroes with banners lining Main Street again. This is one of my favorite initiatives. We'll have our link live for ordering a banner on the borough website this Friday, and we'll also blast it out to social media. Hopefully Gianna can include it in the co-star. And we can physically post some flyers around town, the library, BHA, the Borough Hall. On Friday, if you prefer to come into the borough instead of dealing with the computer, feel free to come in and fill out a form to purchase a banner. We are still looking for anyone who would like to sponsor a banner. It was a really wonderful experience. I think we all sponsored banners last year, so please don't allow the inability to purchase a banner stop you from requesting one, because we have a lot of people who would like to help with that. And I think that's it. Some people have asked what happens when we have so many banners.
Yeah.
And so what other towns do is that they cycle it. So that the new year, you'll have the new banners that come in, and then we'll figure out making sure that everyone gets equal time for their banners. That's how, it'll take a little organization, but that's how that worked.
And then Councilwoman, are they automatically the ones that were up last year come up this year?
Great question. Yes, they automatically come up unless you've said yourself, you know what, I really don't want it. Or there have been a few people who said, you know what, I would really like to keep this myself. You know, and if it is, right now, none of them are weather damaged. They all look beautiful. It's really thick vinyl banner. But if for whatever reason you would prefer to keep that for yourself, you would just have to order another one if you want one put back up.
Thank you. Council President Levis.
Thank you, Mayor. Last Saturday, I had the pleasure of attending Belmar Hook and Ladder Fire Company's fundraiser at 10th Avenue Burrito. It was really well attended. A lot of fun, great food, good margaritas. They had good raffles going on. I didn't win any baskets, but I'm sure a lot of other people had some good prizes. That was a great event. And coming up, Friendly Sons of the Shillelagh are hosting on Saturday, October 5th, the 10th annual Pat McGovern 5K and 1 mile walk. That's going to be at Bar A at 9 a.m. Donations from the run are going to support local food pantries, as well as the Belmar Junior Lifeguards. So if you can make that, if you can't run 5K, do the mile walk. It's a really fun event. That's all I have, man.
Okay, last but not least, again, I echo all the comments from my fellow council members here about the exceptional job that the beach staff did, police, EMTs, lifeguards, etc. this summer. I just want to point out to the residents that, you know, when you look at the statistics for the summer, it's, you know, we have here in Belmar, of course, the 10 weeks or more, we've had probably about over 300,000 visitors to the town. So when you look at that and look at, you know, all the people coming into town and things running smoothly, again, I think everyone did a great job. Okay, so thanks to them all. And one other thing that I have that no one picked up on, I finally have something I can say. The Motor Vehicle Commission is coming to Belmar, not for the abandoned cars, but for other things. It's going to be here on October 4th between 9 and 2 at 601 Main Street, 6th Avenue. It says here you can sign up for Real ID, which I did a couple of weeks ago, registration renewals, initial permit, tests are not given at the mobile unit, a non-driver ID, and duplicate or replacement title or registration. So if you have a need to go visit the Motor Vehicle Commission, you can just come here on October 4th and perhaps get some of your things that you need to get done. And that's all I have.
Okay, next item we have is public session on the resolutions. If anyone has a comment or question about a resolution listed on the agenda, please step forward, state your name and address. Okay, with none, can I have a motion to close the public session?
A motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolutions as listed on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckfusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondenaro?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next, we have second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2024-17. This is a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements and authorizing the issuance of bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof. This is open for public comment. If anyone would like to speak on this ordinance, please step forward, state your name and address. Seeing none, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-17?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilman Kinney? Or sorry, Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor Buckfusco?
Yes.
Councilman Rondonero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next is second reading and public hearing, ordinance 2024-18. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 43, small wireless facilities in the right-of-way. This is open for public comment. If anyone would like to speak on the ordinance, please step forward.
Mr. Kramer?
Eugene Creamer, Fourth Avenue. This supplement to the Chapter 43 small wireless facilities in the right-of-way. It says to further regulate small cell wireless facilities within the borough rights-of-way. Unfortunately, and this pertains particularly to Ocean Avenue. The borough doesn't have that jurisdiction. Monmouth County, I guess it was Commissioner Arnaud, when he showed up here at the Taylor Pavilion, he asserted, and brought lawyers along with him, he asserted jurisdiction over Ocean Avenue. I think going forward, we can pretty much assume that the regulation, or I should say, activities within the right-of-way, not just Ocean Avenue, but also 16th Avenue and Main Street. Any of these, cell phone companies or something are going to have to go to the county. This is not covered. If you look at the definition at 43(2) for right-of-ways and public right-of-ways, it specifically excludes county right-of-ways. So this is, what's proposed here is not consistent with the existing code.
I believe, and I could be wrong, I think the ordinance is really meant to just cover right-of-ways that the
Yeah.
Belmar
We only can control what we can control, so Mr. Creamer is correct in that regard, and that's what this ordinance is designed to do. Whatever we can control, we will control, and we'll deal with all the issues that arise as they arise.
So we're not expecting this ordinance to control any of the right-of-ways that the county owns. I think that's basically what we're saying. Only the ones that Belmar owns.
Right, but this is specifically for Ocean Avenue.
I don't know.
What the supplement is notwithstanding the above and anything contained in any prior ordinance, law, or regulation to the contrary, small wireless facilities are prohibited along Ocean Avenue. That's like I said, that's inconsistent because the borough does not have to. Ocean Avenue is County Route 18. They're the ones that have asserted jurisdiction, and they're the ones that, I guess, are paying for the legal battle that's going on with Verizon Wireless. To the best of my knowledge, the borough and nobody else has, asserted jurisdiction, except perhaps for Verizon Wireless. But the town did not, and actually, I guess we invited the county to take the regulation of wireless facilities in the right-of-way. Actually, I think that might be actually be a good move because if you think about it in a way, our elected officials don't want to make that decision. In other words, anybody that can put a wireless facility out in the front of their house, you've made an enemy. Why not let the county, likewise, when it comes to the state highway, let the state highway people. Likewise, when it comes to the railroad, it's up to the railroad. It's not the jurisdiction of the borough. And I can say this much, I've requested the so-called Exhibit B that's referenced in the code there. I tried to get a copy of that, and I was informed that there's no Exhibit B that's responsive to my request. So to the best of my knowledge, this Exhibit B is supposed to be an exhibit of where wireless facilities would be permitted. Right now, apparently, we don't have any place where it would be permitted within a right of way.
I'm going to defer to our attorney on this as to,
I'm gonna have to look into the Exhibit B. I noticed that it wasn't there when I reviewed it. I don't know if it exists or not, actually. That's a-
should we table this?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we just then
I was,
table this?
April?
right, when I spoke to Peter Lupo, Exhibit B was a placeholder for a future exhibit that will be added if necessary.
If
But I
that's the
think
case,
there's also
we
the
actually
issue
need
about,
to table it.
about the,
April, do you have a paper copy of that handy? It's not in the packet.
Don't-
No?
I think the other issue is where, in paragraph 2, where it says that where, the ordinance is saying we're prohibiting small wireless, facilities along Ocean Avenue, including the boardwalk and beachfront. But to Mr. Kramer's point, that is not our right of way, that's the county's right of way.
What
So I
about,
don't know that that's,
what,
something that should be
I
in
mean,
there.
that's where, the Ocean, it just says along Ocean Avenue. I'm sure there's some areas there that are right of way.
But it says including on the boardwalk and beachfront adjacent to.
Right, so if
Yeah,
our,
well, I think we have jurisdiction over the board.
We all.
So, I mean, to the extent that we have jurisdiction over any property along Ocean Avenue, this will apply. If we don't have jurisdiction, then of course, any of our ordinances won't apply to that property. But to the extent that it does, we have this. We're only trying to do what we can do through this ordinance. This was brought up by Peter Lupo after the recent decision by the Supreme Court in the Chevron case. He thought there was an opportunity for us to tighten things up, and that's what we did. So, to the extent that it does, and it does in certain circumstances, because it does push it off a distance down the roads, that's what we can do. And if we have jurisdiction over the boardwalk, which I believe that we do, or any other land along Ocean Avenue, again, we're applying this to that, so.
Is there currently an ordinance outlining utility poles or any type of thing on Ocean Avenue in general?
Not that
But
I'm
there's
aware.
no like electrical poles on Ocean Avenue?
Well, that's all subject to the easement rights with the electric company and the utilities. So I don't know if they have any, and I don't know why, those poles aren't there. I would assume that the actual poles, I believe the poles run behind the structures, of thinking clearly, to provide electricity. I can look into that, but I think that there are no easements up there, and that was something that was very important when the easements were created, and that was a long time ago. I'm only speaking from recollection of, conversations that, have taken place. I can't, I don't have any authority for that, but I can look into it.
So does it make sense to vote on this tonight
Well,
and
yeah,
make amendments to it?
let's vote on it and adopt it if it's acceptable. We'll look at the Schedule B as brought up. If we need to change it, we can change it. If it's harmless, then, we'll let it stay. I'll talk to Peter about that. I won't make further comment on it until I take a better.
For the public, Peter Lupo is our attorney who specializes in all kinds of wireless utilities and laws and whatnot. So that's Mr. Peter Lupo.
Excuse me, Mayor. Perhaps Mr. Lupo is unaware that Ocean Avenue is County Route 18.
Well, I think he has been involved in our discussions on the Verizon issue from the start. So,
Again, I think it's an attempt to the extent that we're in jurisdiction, that we're gonna apply this.
Yeah.
So we have something in place, so we're just gonna leave the ordinance as it is. If we do have a situation where we have jurisdiction, we don't wanna be without the wording.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I tell you what, I kind of object to this just because it seems to be preferential treatment of property owners that have frontage on Ocean Avenue. I live on 4th Avenue. None of us are going to be happy if a wireless facility is put in front of our house. Nobody's going to be happy with that. It damages your property. What are the rest of the people, okay, Ocean Avenue, you preserve that. What are the rest of us, chop meat? Is that the way to treat people fairly?
I thought part of the, I don't have the rest of the ordinance in front of me, but I thought the whole gist of this was to be able to designate where poles are being put throughout the municipality. And we have that option, I believe, under the ordinance to do that. So, in other words, before, and again, this is just my opinion, could be wrong, but I think before a Verizon, for example, or some other carrier wants to put a pole in front of someone's house, I think they would have to come before the borough to get permission to do that.
Yeah,
Am I,
it's a tightening up, it's not a loosening of the ordinance, it's a
Right.
tightening up of the ordinance. It does have a specific effect on Ocean Avenue, which of course was everybody's concern, because that's where Verizon wants to put their poles, and not only Verizon, but anybody who wants to have technology in Belmar will be along the ocean, because that's what they want to do. They want to provide the technology to the beach. So, you know, that is a priority. So to differentiate between Ocean Avenue and other properties makes sense, yes. But the entire ordinance that we put into effect earlier does require Verizon to come to us. Now, they can argue that they don't have to, but when we don't have the ordinance in place in the first instance, they don't have to argue. So we did put a very strong ordinance in place to begin with, and so that applies. And then we just tightened it up for the extra Ocean Avenue requirements. We'll have to see how it plays out. That matter is still in litigation, and we're not part of it, and we're not going to discuss it, but because it may affect us. But we do have an agreement with Verizon, and we'll have to see how the litigation pans out to see where we are and where everybody else is at the end of that litigation. So, yeah, it's just trying to make it
maybe to address
more control. Yeah,
Mr.
thanks.
Kramer's issue is, we could reach out to Mr. Lupo and have him give us some more direction on what would happen in other areas of the town should a Verizon or other carrier wish to put up poles, and we can get the process from him as to what would have to happen before that could happen. And we can bring it back at the next meeting and describe that. We'll have him do it.
And I believe the already
It may also be, it may already be happening, Mayor.
Excuse me?
It may already be happening. There's another method of installing this 5G stuff called stranded mounting, where they just, maybe a foot away from the pole, put a plastic box and run strand of fiber to it, okay? Without putting up new poles. In fact, to my understanding, that's really what Optimum is looking at. But as far as, attaching to poles and so on, there's a multitude of methods that can be done to install wireless facilities. I just thought here is that inasmuch as Monmouth County has taken up the battle with Ocean Avenue, that we not challenge. Nobody, you know, I think your first response to this, Mayor, was we can't afford to fight, okay? They are fighting. And I just see this as circumventing them or trying to, you know, assert some jurisdiction where apparently we never established any jurisdiction. You know, we should, if we didn't want Monmouth County to handle this, perhaps we should have spoken at that time, but that didn't happen. And now they're making the investment. And actually, I think what may be better for all of us is if Monmouth County comes up with a standard plan for how they would handle this sort of thing on county roads. We may all benefit from it. Like I said, you put a pole in front of somebody's house, and you're a local elected official, you made an enemy. Don't count on getting that person's vote. In fact, I think that you would realize that. When it comes to the county, we have not just Ocean Avenue, we have 16th Avenue, all county roads, all the way up to Rhode Island Point. Main Street, we got from 8th Avenue all the way down to Lake Como. That's County Route 30. State Highway Department, we got Route 71, goes past the senior building, and we have Route 35. Let those people be the ones that catch the flack.
Okay, I don't really want to cut you short, but we've been trying to limit comments to 5 minutes. As I said, we'll talk to Mr. Lupo. Hopefully he'll be able to give us, you know, more direction on this, and he's the expert, and he will get him to address many of the issues that you just brought up.
Yeah, also, the other one by federal law, the railroad right away. Borough has no jurisdiction there. You know, railroads, they hire good lawyers.
We'll talk to him about the various rights of way that exist in the town, and hopefully he'll be able to give us some clarity on that.
Mayor, I just would say one thing about what was just said, is that the borough actually did have its fight with Verizon. It resulted in a consent order signed by the judge, signed by the town, signed by Verizon, not signed by the county, which then created the next litigation that we couldn't be in because we were already in the first one. So whatever the expense was going to be, it would have been a waste of money, which was my counsel then and my counsel now, because we had already litigated and settled, and we really had no option. So.
Okay.
Randy Brazell, 11th Avenue. To Mr. Creamer's point, in your paragraph 2 here, it says, also including the side streets abutting Ocean Avenue to a distance of 50 feet. So let's just look at I'm not at 50 feet. It doesn't necessarily affect me, except I have to look at it. All those houses that are 50 feet from the intersection are gonna, if you're kind of saying that's where you'd want the pole to be, or is that not what you're saying? Because that's just a little odd.
I think I read it as it says the first 50 feet, that's where they're prohibited.
Correct.
Yeah.
And there are houses at 50 feet. So you don't want it along Ocean Avenue, but you want it in front of people's houses that are 50 feet away from Ocean Avenue?
It doesn't mean we want it there. Verizon's not looking to put poles there. Verizon's looking to put poles on Ocean Ave because
I
that's where the
understand.
people are. They're not trying to put poles further back, so it's not an issue yet. That's why it's not addressed.
But why are we calling out 50 feet? Why are we calling out anything?
That's where the existing poles are, you know, like the electric poles end like 50 feet from Ocean Avenue, so that's where that 50-foot reference comes from.
Right.
That's where the existing poles are now.
I
We're not saying
understand.
nothing new from where the existing are.
Right, so if you want to put another, if let's say Verizon, so that's a great location, and they want to put another pole next to the ugly pole that's there in the first place, or put it on top of the ugly pole that's there in the first place, where so many people are burying their wires now, where we can probably get rid of a lot of those poles if people will, I know me and a few neighbors were willing to do that. We found out the cost was crazy prohibitive. But, you're gonna put another big thing on top of it. Weirdly, I just had Verizon at my house a few weeks ago. I think I had, written to you, Ms. Donovan, about that. The guy says, I'm telling you, these poles are gonna be obsolete in a year or two. They're just gonna be obsolete. They're gonna go up, and they're gonna, and then they're gonna be stuck there, and they're gonna be obsolete, because there's far more better technology, just like you were saying, coming up. So, if we can just kick this can down the road a little bit, we might not have to worry about this much longer, but I was just confused as to why we were calling out the 50 feet, because those people who are 50 feet away are gonna, you know.
I don't think we're saying that the poles will begin at 50 feet.
I know.
I just we're saying that it's not gonna be within, from Ocean Avenue to 50 feet.
I
think we had
understand.
to write a somewhat reasonable ordinance.
I'm sorry?
I said we had to write a somewhat reasonable ordinance.
Well, but
And I understand your objections, and there's the ideal version of what happens, and there's everything in between. And we are trying, and we're fighting as hard as we can.
I know that you are. I know that you are. So there are municipal buildings on Ocean Avenue. Put the towers on top of the municipal buildings. Was that suggested?
We've had so many discussions with Verizon, and they would just shut us down. They did not want to speak. Their position is very clear, as Mr. McGill said. They came to an agreement, a consent agreement in court with the Borough of Belmar, and as far as they know, in their minds, that agreement is valid, and they don't want to talk to us again. That's it.
I mean, you have bathrooms every 3 blocks. You can't put them on top of those bathrooms.
They had an agreement, consent order, to put 20 poles on Ocean Avenue at the intersection of every street, and the borough consented to that, and as far as they...
Even though the borough had no authority to consent to it,
The borough consented to, well, that's what they're fighting in court now. But from Verizon's perspective, with us, is that we don't have any bargaining. They're done with Belmar. Or if they got their agreement from us, that's it. Now they have another fight with the county. They're not gonna come back to us and say, why don't we put them on poles? Why don't we put them on top of the Taylor Pavilion? Why don't we put it someplace else? They don't want to hear any of that. They went to court. The borough had an opportunity to respond. The borough didn't respond. They got a default judgment, and the borough entered into a consent order that said, yes, you can put 20 poles along Ocean Avenue, and that's it.
And I think.
There's no more discussion with Verizon.
Yeah, our agreement with Verizon is our agreement with Verizon. It's a binding agreement, and, but it does reference the county road. So if the county does whatever it's gonna do and is successful, and there's gonna be no poles in the road, then they're gonna have to do something else, I would think. And if they have to do something else, then we have the ordinance in place that gives us more control.
Except for the people that are within 50 feet of Ocean Avenue.
Yeah, but because
they're gonna wanna get as close to Ocean Avenue as they can.
they have to
We
come in
had
and
an ordinance
have a
prior to
plan
that?
otherwise, you know?
I'm sorry?
I thought we had an ordinance prior to that, when Mr. Lupo came into helping us, that changed it to protect the borough, to be able to have our first say that they can't put
That
it
is
out
what
there.
I'm saying.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not what this says.
No,
And
This one's separate.
I
This is
understand.
on top of that.
yeah, right, it's in addition to.
Verizon has never indicated that they want to put poles anywhere but Ocean Avenue. They don't want to put poles down 50 feet down each street. They're not saying they want to do that. They're not saying they would agree to that. It's just that we're doing an ordinance that, just in case some Verizon or some other communications vendor wants to do that, that we have some authority as to where these poles go. That's really the crux of the whole ordinance.
I understand. And the authority is saying, however, within, no closer to Ocean Avenue than 50 feet. So if they want to get close to Ocean Avenue, that's where it's going, if they can make that work for themselves. That's what they're going to request anyway. I shouldn't say that's where it's going. That's what they're going to request.
They can request anything, but we don't have to agree to it. That's what the whole intent of the ordinance is.
And when you don't agree to it and they sue you and you lose, we're back to now having 19 poles in front of houses on the A
But that
Street.
doesn't make sense for Verizon, because that's not giving the coverage that they need.
Well, we don't know what their technology is gonna allow for. We don't know that.
I know, but we can't pass ordinances.
I don't know why you can't have an ordinance that says it has to be within, well, again, I don't know what Exhibit B was. I was hoping to see what Exhibit B was, to see where you wanted your poles to be. Because that's what the reasonable thing should be.
You know,
This is where you want it to be.
think it starts there. You can't have them on Ocean Avenue if they make a proposal, and we're only talking hypothetically here, because that litigation is still ongoing. But let's just say courts throw everything out. We have an ordinance that says they can't put them on Ocean Avenue. If they make a proposal to us that makes sense, then we certainly can do that. We can permit that because we control what we allow. So right now, we're saying no, and that's by ordinance. But if they come in and everybody in the town wants them on Ocean Avenue, which it seemed like nobody wanted them on Ocean Avenue, then that's what we can do. But it's an issue of control. So we put words in the ordinances to have control, and you know. So
Yes, to Mr.
right.
Kramer's point, it protects the people on Ocean, it protects the beach, and it protects the homeowners on Ocean Avenue.
Well,
But if it's going back 50 feet, it could be, it won't be in front of my house, but I'll see it, it may be in front of his house, it may be in front of our house, it may be in front of his house.
I understand your point, okay, but the issue that we were grappling with the whole time dealt with poles on Ocean Avenue. And I understand nobody wants it in front of their house. Right. I live on Ninth Avenue.
Right, you understand.
And B and C. I don't want a pole either.
Right.
So, but it's not saying that it's gonna absolutely be there. They have to come in with a plan. It says they can't be on Ocean Avenue.
Right, but I'm not sure why you limited it to, why you have a sentence in here about distance of 50 feet from an intersection.
Because I think to Ms. Donovan's point, we have to limit it and also be able to make the argument that we're reasonable. So they have to be somewhere, okay? But we're trying to, you know,
Well,
have as much control as we can.
Ask the people on A Street whether they think this is reasonable, and they'll all say no.
Oh, I know the answer. You can ask me if you go to put it on between B and C,
Right.
and I know the answer. But we have to write something, and then in the best way that we can deal with whatever proposal comes up. So all the other words in the ordinance requires our approval of in front of your house or in front of my house or in front of anybody's house. What this says is just it can't be on Ocean Avenue. And that's not inconsistent with what I just said. If they make the greatest plan in the world with little teeny boxes that are invisible on Ocean Avenue, then maybe we would go for that. But, you know, we have to deal with, we're trying to put an ordinance in place to deal with something we don't know what it's gonna be. And we wanted to make it strong as possible, and we want it off Ocean Avenue. So it's all off Ocean Avenue. We can't say it's not gonna be on any street, because the court's not gonna hold that up. So this is the ground.
So in other municipalities, because I've read a few of these things, where they actually designate locations where they can be, on top of the school, on top of the municipal building, on top of the, behind the baseball field, something like that. We don't have that?
The issue, I think, is you know, we have, you have 4G and 5G, and I'm no expert on this stuff, right? But I know the 5G stuff has to be much closer to each other. The poles have to be closer than the 4G, and the 4G can be on a water tank and cover everything, or great areas, but the 5Gs have to be closer. So, you know, when you say there's other towns that have ordinances that say it can be here or there, I'm sure there are. Not sure if it's 5G, and if it is 5G and it's not gonna work, then you can have all the ordinances in the world that don't work, and you're not gonna be able to argue that in court, because you're not allowed to put a plan in that, like, doesn't work. So,
But of course, there's gonna be 6G, and there's gonna be 7G, and there's gonna be 8G, and 5G is not gonna matter anymore, but we're gonna be stuck with poles. So,
but, you know, even in the agreement though that we have, it says once the technology is no longer used, the poles come down. And I don't know if they just use antiquated stuff and like, you know, Belmar, you gave us such a hard time, you're only getting 5G, although everybody else in the world's getting 7G. I don't know that, but, you know, if they're no longer using the technology, those poles will come down. And like was mentioned here, if the technology changes, while this is still going on and there's no poles going up, then we're gonna have to deal with another issue. And we'll have to amend this again. So we're gonna have to be vigilant on
All right,
what this is.
I was just,
Just for,
I just
just
didn't
for reference
understand.
No,
too,
I understand.
the fire ordinance that we got rid of had an exhibit to it, and they had poles on every corner in Belmar. For the entire town.
Yeah.
100 and how many poles?
It was like 171.
171 poles. So basically, it was agreed that they could put a pole on any corner that they wanted to. All right? We haven't done that. All right? So that's where we're at. We want to control it, and this is the best way I think we can control it. If we didn't have the beach, Verizon could put the poles wherever they want. Okay? I mean, that's basically, you know, if they said they want to put poles down Fifth Avenue, they can put poles down Fifth Avenue. That's just the way it's gonna work.
If we didn't have
you
the
know?
beach, we wouldn't have the influx of people, 300,000
Right,
people
they wouldn't be
coming
looking for
here.
poles here.
And we would be a completely different town. Let's not pretend like the beachfront is like the life and soul of.
I don't know why they need somebody to watch a movie on the beach. They should be enjoying the water.
Some of this new legislation is also due to the Chevron decision that recently came down. I have no idea, I'm not an expert on it, but all I know is it kind of loosened up things for municipalities and cities and whatnot. And I think some of these new ordinances are in reaction to that because it actually gives municipalities a little bit more say in what's going on. So that's why, you know, we wanted to jump on that to take advantage of whatever the ramifications of that decision is going to be.
I appreciate your efforts, I really do, and thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments?
Kathy Snyder, Ocean Avenue. I just would like to piggyback on the 50 feet. I think, you know, that's like one lot size in. If we don't want them on the ocean for all those health reasons and things that we've heard over the past year, then I think a better deterrent would make it like a whole block in. Nobody wants them, but I think if it's 50 feet, they're gonna like be more apt to do it than not do it. And I think the ordinance definitely needs to have, we would allow them in an industrial zone or something. I think it's a very weak ordinance if you don't say where you are going to allow them to do. Otherwise, going back to being able to substantiate, like you can't have them here, right? But we have to allow them someplace. I wouldn't want them near a school or where children are, or where I live, honestly. But, you know, in an industrial zone or someplace, I think we have to find a place for them. But 50 feet, that's one lot in. Like, they might as well be on Ocean Avenue then. I don't know how the 50 feet came up. I just think
the
it's
whole
too short.
issue, if you remember way back when, the whole issue of the poles on Ocean Avenue was an aesthetic problem.
Well, that's
Because
what
they
some
didn't wanna
people
see
said,
it.
but we've heard
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
then, well, the medical, the attorney from Texas, it's frightening what, you know, the reports have shown. I don't want them at all,
Well,
but I
yeah,
think
but that
50
goes to-
feet,
then
well, that's
goes
not
to
gonna happen,
anywhere.
but 50 feet, they might as well be on Ocean Avenue. 50 feet is not far enough to, I think, deter Verizon from putting them. They don't belong on the beach, like, you know, I just think if you want them off the beach, then push them further away from the beach.
Any other comments?
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-18?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Papa
Yes.
Councilman Rosanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
Next is ordinance 2024-19. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 19 traffic to amend Section 12 parking time limited on certain streets. Do we have a motion to offer this ordinance for first reading and introduction?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilman McKinney?
Yes.
Mayor Papa
Yes.
Councilman Rosanero?
Yes.
Councilman Levis?
Yes.
And last one is ordinance 2004-20. This is an ordinance amending the Uniform Construction Code fees, section 25-1.4, Do we have a motion to offer for first reading and introduction?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinney?
Yes.
Mayor LaFesto?
Yes.
Councilman Romadero?
Yes.
Councilman Levin?
Yes.
Okay, now we're on to public session. Anyone that's going to come up to the microphone to speak, please remember to state your name and address first.
Linda Sharkus, 4th Avenue. I have a couple of questions. Talked about the volume of people on the beach. What are our gross badge revenues for dailies in summer? And how do those compare with last year? I haven't heard.
There's a chart on the website.
I have that information right in front of me.
Yeah.
I actually printed this out.
Right?
So in 2020, which was pretty much our banner year because of COVID, in terms of badge sales, we sold 5,062,000 approximately dollars in badges. And then over the course of 21, 22, 23, 24, it hovered in the 3.8 and 4.2, 4.3 million. This year, 2024, we sold 5 million. So last year we sold 4.2 million. This year we sold over $5 million in badges.
And what was it in terms of daily versus summer badges?
Like versus season.
Season badges.
Season badges, and then there's also disability badges and senior badges in there. But senior badges, season badges were 1.265, daily badges were 3.4 and change.
Okay, thank you. My next question, or next comment, getting back to what's going on with vehicles parking on the streets. One of the things that wasn't mentioned was fleets of vehicles. There is nothing worse than seeing a contractor have their vehicles lining the street because they're not paying for a place for their business. Talk about obstructing parking for the neighbors. I think that needs to be considered as one of the things that you get one vehicle outside your house and find a place for the rest of your vehicles that have your name. Like, even if they're just a van, this van with advertising on it, one should be the limit and not more, because they really could take up, good parking on weekends and in the prime time in the community. So I'd appreciate it if you could make that a consideration in the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello. Sarah Tantillo, 50513. I was here in about the middle of July talking about the animal house, the toothless animal house policy. And I think this is a policy issue, not completely a policing issue. But when I spoke the last time, I found out after the meeting that I had called 6 times and the people had only gotten 1 ticket. This is a designated animal house. I subsequently called 2 more times because they're coming home at 2:30 in the morning screaming their lungs out. It's just very, very bad. Called 2 more times, they got 1 ticket. So I feel as though one thing about our animal house policy that needs to change is that if a house is designated an animal house, then the police should automatically ticket if they go and they hear noise, not give them like, well, we'll give you 1 more chance. Because all through July into August, they were getting 1 more chance, and I had to keep getting awakened in the middle of the night to call the police to get them to stop. And yes, the police came and stopped them, but there was no real accountability. And at this point, they're gonna, maybe they went to court, maybe they didn't pay their ticket, maybe they're going to. This guy, he just continues to rent to people who don't care about the community. And I'm speaking for a serious handful of neighbors. I'm the one who is willing to rave about this. But I'm sure other people have a similar problem. There are 92 houses listed as designated as animal houses in this community. 92. I have the list printed out for anybody who's interested. It's on the website. So, the policy says that, we're gonna hire Monmouth County Sheriff's people for $60 an hour to stay outside the houses and enforce that. That's not realistic. The police don't have enough numbers. It's not feasible. right? But we should have something that says, like, if you are a designated animal house and we hear, you know, there's a call to that house, that should be an automatic ticket. Like, when they get there, it should just be boom, ticket. You know, so that the, you know, the younger cops who might feel some kind of way about giving a ticket to a large group of people who are older than them, who are drinking and being obnoxious, they should feel comfortable, like, it's the rule. I gotta give you a ticket. I'm not gonna negotiate with you. Make it easier for them to do their jobs. So.
Mr. Can we look into that, Mr. Bill?
Yeah.
Do we have the flexibility to change animal house procedures and all that?
Yeah, to the extent that we can, I'll report back.
Okay,
Thank you.
take a look at it.
That's a great idea.
It's a quality
Neil Scheck, 410 Fourth Ave. I appreciate that you're all in a very difficult position all of a sudden, and I understand that you cannot perhaps discuss the matter tonight, but if you allow me to read my letter, we can make our beaches free and be done with the aggravation of beach badges and wristbands once and for all. The Belmar surfer arrest has shone a spotlight on New Jersey's beach feeds. My town and our state are being mocked by startled observers around the nation and the world who cannot believe that we tolerate living under such a repressive system that doles out beach access, one purchased wristband at a time. The Coast Star reports that the Belmar Mayor and Council are consulting additional state resources to provide further clarity regarding the law on beach access. That's the right move. Let's hope that this will resolve the conflict of two state laws. One guarantees us the right to freely cross the beach to enjoy the ocean, and another seems to say towns may stop us from doing so if we do not fork over some cash. Reportedly, there is a range of policies in place in various beach towns, some requiring each and every beachgoer pay, while others allow surfers and fishermen and even swimmers to access the ocean without paying. No wonder the arrested surfer was taken aback by the sudden and highly unusual demand to see his badge the moment he stepped from the water. The solution is legislation to use a tiny sliver of the state budget yearly to provide each town with a documented amount of money needed to maintain its beach. The accompanying boost to tourism and the overall state economy may generate revenue to offset this relatively small expense. Please see makenjbeachesfree.org or .com and consider the petition. Now, my suggestion to the mayor and council, would you please consider submitting a grant proposal to the state covering all the beach expenses, which would relieve the borough of the burden of raising the money. And you could take a leadership position and you could make history here. May I submit this to April, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Okay. Can I have a motion to close the public session and adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.